to the Pretty Bookish channel where we talk all things books all the time. My name is Nogokanya. If you're new here, it's really nice to meet you. For those of you who are regulars, what up? Okay, so today's video, I'm going to be talking about something that I've been asked about quite a lot on Instagram. It's not my typical video. I'm going to be talking about audiobooks. I have been asked so many questions on Instagram in my DMs since I started listening to audiobooks, of people wanting information and wanting to know how I'm listening to audiobooks, what I'm listening to, and whether or not I'm finding it a good experience or not. So I just thought, let me just do a video where I talk you guys through some general beginner's guide to audiobooks. Mind you, I am very much a beginner in the audiobook land. I think I listened to my first full audiobook in August. So like, I'm a baby audiobook listener. I'm very new to this. It's something that historically I didn't want to listen to audiobooks because I was just like, ew, boo, audiobooks, they suck. Because I don't like someone talking in my ear. I'm not one of those people who's just like, oh, audiobooks are not real books. That's not the reason why, because that's like so ableist and so like exclusionary, it's ridiculous. The reason why I personally did not want audiobooks before is because the idea of someone talking in my ear, like directly in my ear for that long, sounded like my idea of a nightmare. But then I had to listen to Milkman on audiobook because someone said it's the best way to get the story, because the actual reading of the book I was struggling. So then I listened to the audiobooks. I was just like, okay, this actually was a 5-star book because of the audio. Then I listened to The Dutch House. Then I listened to Becoming by Michelle Obama, and I was just like, okay, I feel like this is actually a vibe. And since then, I think if I had to check, let me check quickly. If I had to check my notes of like, because I keep my stats on my phone, I think I have like listened to like 20 audiobooks since then. So I'm by no means one of those people who listens to like 100 audiobooks or whatever, but like, I think I can give you guys a little bit of information, especially from a beginner's perspective, of how I'm finding the different apps and stuff and what I've learned from them from a beginner's kind of viewpoint, and tell you guys, yeah, how I'm finding it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you guys through, first of all, how I listen to audiobooks, when I listen to them. Then I'm going to tell you guys the different apps that I use and the pros and cons of those apps, and also give you a bit of information about like the genres that I personally find are good for audiobooks, because I don't think everything is audiobook material. That's my personal opinion. I've found that certain genres work best for me and certain genres I can't really do on audiobook. So yeah, let me give you guys the 411 on how I'm finding the whole audiobook experience. So first of all, I'm going to talk to you guys about the question I get the most is how I listen to audiobooks and when I listen to audiobooks. So the thing about an audiobook, if you don't know what it is, it's basically like the normal story in a novel narrated to you in your ear. So you listen to it in audio from either the author sometimes narrates, if it's a memoir or a biography, or even sometimes normal fiction books, the authors narrate, or someone else narrates the book. For example, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen on Audible is narrated by Rosamund Pike. So basically you get the story via listening to on your headphones, on your earphones, on your laptop, whatever the case may be. So for me personally, my day-to-day, let me give you guys my day-to-day, my daily routine, and how I've managed to like embed audiobooks into my routine, especially in the quarantine times. I'll tell you how I would be doing it if I was commuting as well, but more or less this would stay the same. I get up, right? Once I've gotten up and after I finish showering, so I go to the bathroom. I try to listen to audiobooks, let me tell you, first in the shower. I can't do it because you can't hear anything. I know some people have bathroom speakers or have like in shower speakers, and if you have that, I think that would be a great way to also make it a part of that experience, but I don't, so the sound is really bad. But when I do take baths, you can listen to an audiobook. Okay, anyway, rewind. I get up and then I shower. After I finish showering, I have like a 15 to 30 minute routine of moisturizing, doing my face creams, when I have to make my bed, clearing up my room, wiping down my counters in my room, because I sanitize everything every day. COVID, obviously. So because of that, that's time I come into my room after I finish showering, I press play on my audio, whatever I'm listening to at the moment, and I probably get through a chapter or two depending on how long those chapters are. Then when I go downstairs to make a cup of coffee, make some toast, get some cereal, I put my earphones in and I listen to my audiobook for the other 15 minutes while I'm busy making food. Then I come upstairs and I switch my audio off, and then I check my emails, I do my work stuff, go to meetings. In between meetings, when I have to do admin, I want to call it like brainless admin, where I'm doing stuff that I don't need to be paying attention, but it's like admin stuff. I put an audiobook on depending on what it is, usually non-fiction, because you don't need to pay as much attention because you're learning something new, but it's not like trying to follow a narrative. So then I put my audiobook on at different points in the day while I'm busy doing other things. On Fridays, when, for example, I have to go do groceries, I put my audiobooks, I listen to an audiobook when I'm in the grocery store, when I'm walking around the mall, if I have to go grab a coffee at Starbucks quickly, anything that I have to do that requires me to like leave my house when I'm in the car, I put my audiobook in. I had to go to my cousin's birthday dinner a couple of days ago, and I actually drove to Joburg, Sandton and back. And that's like put together, it's like an hour and a half driving there and back. I put my audiobook in during that time, and that hour and a half I managed to get through about 4 or 5 chapters of the book that I was reading on that drive. So that's how I listen to audiobooks, because I found for myself, I can't do the thing where you play an audiobook and you sit down and then you just like listen. I can't do that. I know some people do that, where they like play the audiobooks while they're lying in bed or just sitting on a chair or like sitting in the garden. I can't do that. I need my audiobook to be playing while I'm doing other things so that I can kind of feel like I'm not wasting my time, if that makes sense. Because for me, sitting still for that extended period of time, I can't really do it. So that's more or less how I found audiobooks working well for me, is to embed them into my general daily life. So yeah, that's how I would recommend you do it, and that's how I found that it's really, really helpful. I've also found that like in the time that I've listened to audiobooks, I've managed to read 4 or 5 more books per month than I was before. Because I'll talk about Scribd a little bit later, but like for example, some of the subscriptions that I have unlimited access to the library. So I'll find a situation where, for example, now I'm reading Gods of Jade and Shadow, and Paul Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl. So I've managed to find Paul Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl on on Scribd as well. So while I'm reading the physical book, I'll be reading a couple of chapters, then I need to get up and go do something else. I'll just pop the audiobook in so I can continue listening. I'm finding that doing that is helping me to finish books quicker, but also I'm getting through different kinds of books and a lot more books in the month. So that's another thing that I'm finding, how audiobooks are really helping me with my reading experience. So the second part of this video I want to do is like the part that I think everybody's most interested in, is me walking you guys through my experience of the different audiobook apps. So the ones I will talk about is Audible, Scribd, Librafm and AnyPlay. And then I'll also give you a little bit of information on Libby, even though I don't use it. I'll tell you what it is so people can like you can research it, because I think it's a more cost-effective option. So I'll give you the pros and cons and what I'm finding. I'm by no means a technical expert, guys. You can also do your Googles, but I'm just going to tell you how I'm finding the different apps and my opinions on them. Okay, so first of all is Audible. So Audible was the first audiobook service that I used. I use it because I have an Amazon account. I have Kindle Unlimited. I had a Prime account when I lived in the UK, so I had a lot of Amazon stuff. So I just added it to my Amazon thing. So the way that Audible works is that you get a membership. Well, if you sign up for a membership, if you don't have a membership, you just buy audiobooks the same way you buy books. I think they're like between $15 and $30 or pounds, or however you want to, whatever your currency is. But if you get a membership, every month they charge you, I think, £7.99. I think that's roughly 150 Rand. And then you get 1 credit. And that credit is valuable for, is for any audiobook in the entire Audible library. That can be any book. It doesn't matter what price. The book could be $8 or it could be $35. Like you could be buying Barack Obama's brand new hardback 600-page book, or you could be buying a 200-page romance novel. It doesn't matter. All of it is just is that 1 credit. So the pro, I think, of Amazon or Audible is that Audible has a huge library. Like literally I don't think there's anything that's available on audiobook that you can't find there. Whether that's fiction, non-fiction. My mom is doing like coaching work, so coaching books, textbooks. I think there's nothing you can't find on Audible, simply because Amazon has access to everything. They have the rights to a lot of different books. So that's the pro of Audible. The con of Audible, I would say, is that you don't have unlimited access. You get 1 credit a month for $7.99, and I think if you pay £14, you get 2 credits, and then there's another membership where you get 3 credits. I only do the one because I'm not trying to spend that much money on, or I wasn't, because I don't really use Audible anymore because I switched anyway, but I'll explain why. So that's the one con. The other con is obviously from a social justice perspective. Amazon is a little bit sketchy. It's a little bit problematic in terms of like this corporate giant that, you know, and I think especially during COVID, we've kind of gotten a much more in-depth understanding, I think, globally of what Amazon is like as a company, their corporate philosophy and all those kinds of things. And it's just a little bit sketchy. So I would say that like Amazon in general is cost effective, it's cost friendly for people who can't afford to buy things at the highest price. So I by no means saying don't use Amazon if you can afford, if that's all you can afford to do. But I will say that like if you can afford not to use it, Audible is a little bit sketchy on the social justice from a moral perspective. Okay, so the second one I want to talk about, because it relates to what I was just saying about the kinds of moral philosophies and the kind of sketchiness of Amazon, is Librafm. So Librafm, I was a what's the word I'm looking for? I got introduced to Librafm because they contacted me to kind of receive advanced listeners copies of certain books. So I do receive advanced listener copies in exchange for reviews from Libro. But then what I did was I signed up for a 1-month membership. I gifted myself a 1-month membership because I wanted to see how Librafm works as well. So Librafm, the way that I understand it, their business model is very similar to the one on Audible. You get a membership per month where you get 1 credit, and I think it's $14, so I think that would be like £10. You get, it's roughly 200 Rand per month. You get 1 credit, and then I think you get 30% off all the other audiobooks in their library. So it's similar to Amazon in the sense that it's like 1 credit, you can listen to 1 book. You do get discounts on the other books, but like if a book is like $27, like a 30% discount is really big, but you still have to pay for all the other books. The only bonus that the thing about Librafm that makes it better than Amazon in a lot of people's eyes, and I think personally as well, is that from a social justice perspective and from a generally supporting small businesses perspective, Librafm is basically the audiobook equivalent of Bookshop.org, where they support and buy audiobooks. So when you buy audiobook from them, they give the money or buy or source the audiobook from small local bookstores. So a bunch of local bookstores. I think there's a US based company, obviously, so local bookstores in the US. So that's, I think, generally better from like a economic, sustaining the middle class, middleman, small businesses perspective. Obviously, as we've seen with COVID especially, small businesses have really suffered under the kind of restrictions and because of the hits that the economies all over the world have taken. So that's the difference with between Libro and Amazon, in my opinion. That's the only difference, is that they're kind of it's corporate giants versus the little man. That's basically the difference. But their general and Librafm's library is smaller than Amazon's, although it is still pretty extensive. I think Amazon or Audible's library is generally unmatched. Right. Then the third one that I want to talk about that I probably use the most is Scribd. So Scribd is basically the equivalent. It's basically like, think Netflix. What happens with Scribd is you pay a subscription fee per month, and I think it's $8.99, which in South Africa it's I think roughly 130, 140, 140 Rand, something like that. And you have complete access to their entire book library. So you have unlimited access, or they say unlimited, but it is, I'll explain in a second why that's not 100% true. But for the sake of this argument, you have unlimited access to their library. They have a very large library. It's obviously not as big as Audible, but they have a very large library. I've been using Scribd for the past 3 months, and they have everything. Obviously not everything, but there's a good, like I think you would be hard pressed to not find a couple of books or most of the books that you want on Scribd. I personally prefer Scribd to all the other ones. I think it's the best value for money. That's the biggest pro for Scribd, is that being able to pay a single fee per month and have complete access to their library. You can browse, you can try new books, you can download stuff and try an audiobook, and if you don't like it halfway, you can delete it without being worried that, oh my god, I just spent my 1 Libro or my 1 Audible credit and now I don't like this book, type of thing. Do you know what I mean? So that's one of the big pros that Scribd has. So with regards to, so let me talk for a second about their whole thing of being unlimited. It's not 100% true, because what they do is, okay, so you have theoretically unlimited access, but But what I've seen is that you can download roughly 3 of the brand newest new titles. So, and then after that, they start to throttle you back, where you can still download books, but the range of books that you have access to becomes limited, because I think it has to do with the way that they license and the fees that they pay to publishers. So they don't have unlimited access. For example, right, if they have access to Star Daughter, then only a certain number of people are allowed to download Star Daughter in a month. And so if you download, so they kind of average it out, where if the way I understand it is that, like, if you've already downloaded Song of Wraith and Ruin, The Binding, and like Legendborn, then they limit your ability to download any new releases so that other people have access to the kind of library, right? So you can't just go on a downloading spree and download like 20 of the brand newest releases, right? So I think they try and do that to give everybody a chance to listen to stuff, and because they obviously have limitations on what they're allowed to do with the contract and the licensing that they have. So it's not completely it's not like completely unlimited. However, from my experience, that's not a huge problem, because for me, okay, so for example, this month, so now it's December, I've downloaded The Binding by Bridget Collins. I think I downloaded, what's the other book that I just downloaded? Paul Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl, and I also downloaded Song of Wraith and Ruin. So now those 3 books I can't download anymore. I'm looking for my phone. Oh, here it is. Sorry. I wanted to just show you guys. So I downloaded those 3 books, right? And so now I've been throttled, so I can't download like Star Daughter, but the list of books that I still have access to is like, I can still download, let me tell you, I can still download The Leavers, Darker Shade of Magic. I'm reading from the saved books that I kind of, so I save books like your wish list type thing. Wolf Hall, Furia, Emma by Jane Austen, Pachinko, You Should See Me in a Crown, Her Body and Other Parties, Freshwater, His Only Wife. So I still have a huge collection of books that I can still access. It's just that certain books now have been restricted for me just for December. So when my membership renews in January, everything will be open for me. So I think that's why I think that even though it's a limitation, it's not that big of a limitation, and I think it's still very much worth the money, because I pay the same amount on Scribd that I did for Audible, and on Scribd I have access to an unlimited library, so I can download like 6 or 7 books, whereas for the same amount on Audible I only have 1 credit to download 1 book. So if that makes sense. So that's why I think that Scribd for me is the best value for money. The only con I think for me is that the one thing I would think that Scribd I would love for them to do is for them to indicate which books are like high value. So which books, if you pick 3 of them, they should have a separate section for those books, so you at least know which 3 books, so that you have a better idea, because right now you actually don't know which books will throttle you until you've downloaded them. So you actually have no idea, like if you download these 3 books, then you won't be able to get these 3 books or whatever. So they don't tell you that until you've already done it, which I think is something that they should look into changing. But other than that, still Scribd, phenomenal, great value for money. Then the next one is AnyPlay, that I've used I think once or twice. I'm not that familiar with it, but I think it's a Swedish listening service that is available in South Africa. Well, it is I think 80 Rand or 90 Rand per month, and they also have the same business model as Scribd, where you have an unlimited access. Their library is much smaller than Scribd, I think, and also smaller than Audible, but they do still have a lot of the really, really great new books. So for example, I was on there yesterday, I saw they have Song of Wraith and Ruin, they have a bunch of YA, they have like Felix Ever After, they have a bunch of like really brand new YA. I think I saw Legendborn on there as well. They have like, I think I saw an Emma in the Ashes. So they have a lot of stuff. They just don't obviously have as many books as like your Scribd or your, basically like your US services that are much bigger, because they've been around much longer. I think AnyPlay is relatively new. So that's also an option for if you're in South Africa. The price point is also smaller. And so if you're someone who's trying to get into the audiobook life and you're trying to introduce yourself, I would say that AnyPlay works in the sense that like you pay 80 Rand, which is not that expensive, and you'd be able to test the waters and start trying different genres and try different books, because they do have the same unlimited access business model. Right. Then the last one is Libby. I'm not familiar with Libby. I have never used it, but I will tell you, I would say that people should look into it, because as far as I know, Libby is basically the app that you use where if you have a library card, I think from any library in the world, you can use your library card and fill in your details to be able to use Libby, which is basically an Audible service that works off the library system, the global library system. So I think that's a great one because as far as I know, it's free. You don't have to pay for it because obviously library cards are usually free. I think it depends on what library you use, but some libraries you have to pay for, but the fee is really small, usually at like public libraries. So you use your library card to be able to access Libby. So I would definitely say Google that. I personally haven't used it because I don't have a library card. That's my main reason. I used to have when I lived in London, but I don't have a library card anymore. So that's why I haven't used it. So definitely do your Googles and figure out if that works for you. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about briefly is basically the question of genres. I actually don't think that there is any genre that people shouldn't listen to on audiobook. I think it's one of those trial and error things. This is why I like unlimited services like AnyPlay and like Scribd especially, because it gives you the room to trial and error. So it's like that thing of having unlimited access is where you can try literary fiction, romance, you can try nonfiction, biographies, fantasy, and see which genres and what kinds of books give you have a nice listening experience. So for me personally, I do nonfiction. I love listening to memoirs and biographies on audio. I found that certain fantasies I can do and some I can't. So for example, Raybearer by Jordan Ifweko, I loved the audiobook, but then A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, I did not like that audio at all. I think it also depends on the narrator. So that's also a really big part of it. So I also can't listen to romance at all. Guys, if I had to listen to someone talking about sex and like pulsing members and like, I love you but I don't love you, I would actually cringe myself to death. So I can't do romance at all. But I find that like literary fiction and contemporary fiction, I love listening to an audio. So I listen to, for example, and also Greek mythology. I just listened to Jocasta, The Children of Jocasta, and I really enjoyed that. I listened to Writers and Lovers by Lily King, really enjoyed that. But also I listened to The Death of Vivek Orji on Librafm, which I also really enjoyed. So I think for me, it's a trial and error type of thing, but I know which genres I absolutely can't. Self-help, I can't. And romance, I absolutely can't on audio. But all the other ones, it depends on the narrator, which is why I always use the sampling feature. I think Audible has it. I want to say Scribd has it. I want to say that Libro has it. But basically, you can sample books where you can kind of listen. I think they give you like a 5-minute snippet where you can listen to the narrator, because that really has a huge impact on whether or not you're going to enjoy that audiobook, is whether or not the narrator. For example, The Dutch House, Tom Hanks, game changer. I feel like if anybody else had narrated that book, I wouldn't have loved it, but because it was Tom Hanks, it was amazing. So yeah, that's basically my beginner's guide rundown to audiobooks. That's the information that I have so far. I probably will shoot another audiobook video in a couple of months once I've had a lot more time to really dive deep into these services and into the audiobook world to see if I have any different opinions in a couple of months. But from my beginner's perspective, that's the information I have and that's what I think. I love audiobooks. I think they're a great way to listen to stories. I think it's great to embed them into your normal life. My personal favorite, I would highly recommend Scribd because I think it's the best value for money. But if you have a bit more to spend, I would also say Librafm is the second best. AnyPlay is a great beginner's one if you're trying stuff out, but because their library is smaller, I would say start AnyPlay, then you'd probably want to move to Scribd because their library is a little bit bigger. And then Librafm is also the best. So yeah, but overall, I'm team Scribd all the way. So yeah, that's my opinion. That's my video on how I listen to audiobooks. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, comment, DM, like, DM me on Instagram if you have any questions or write them below and I'll do my best to answer them. I hope you guys found this instructive. I hope you found this interesting. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.